Congratulations. So, I'm sorry for this mic is going in and out, so please bear with me. If you can, just tell us a little bit about a backstory about, because this is part 2, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a backstory about Bushwick Homecomings and how part 1 and part 2 started.
Okay. Part 1 was just a kind of happenstance. I was working on my master's degree at City College, and my thesis was a study of delinquency. That's why so many young men were included in that original film, and I thought in doing that thesis that it made for a visual narrative. So I filmed all the interviews and thought this would be something that could be a film. And after I completed my thesis, I threw myself into making that documentary and took a couple of film classes, editing, and the film was born. And that was in 2006. The ending of the film asked, what's the future of Bushwick? And that is something that always left me feeling like it was something that I wanted to revisit at some point. So 10 years, certain markers occurred within that 10-year time that let me know that it was time to revisit that film. The second part of the film opens with the Miley Cyrus thing seems like a small thing, but when you grew up in a place where most people thought it was unlivable, they were afraid to come to Bushwick, and I have so many of my Bushwick family in this audience today. But if you remember that, if you remember growing up there, people were afraid to come to Bushwick. They would not have come there. So to go from that moment to Miley Cyrus partying in Bushwick, that was a major shift, and also both proclaiming Bushwick one of the coolest places in the world. I was like, that was a shift for me that made me know it was time to revisit the film. And it was about 10 years, so that's what brought me here.
Amazing. How did you meet DJ Evil Dee? By the way, I have to say I'm a huge fan.
Yes, oh my
God. So I'm like geeking out right now.
I have to say, this is hip-hop royalty right here for people who don't know Evil Dee. And so having him participate in the film is incredible, so I definitely, if you grew up in Bushwick, you probably know who Evil Dee is, and you probably know Black Moon. But for those who don't know, I am so happy that in seeing this film they are introduced to that. And I think Black Moon is dropping an album and that's really soon. But I think that in making the first film, I wanted to connect with talent that I am aware of in Bushwick, and Evil Dee was like the first natural kind of person that I outreached to. I had gone to like Evil Dee is a busy man, so he is usually DJing somewhere, but I think I was able to like connect with you and like, I'm working on this film, can you? So yeah, that's how we connected, but I think that people who grew up in Bushwick and beyond know Evil Dee. Yeah, so thank you. Do you want to talk a little bit about your Bushwick experience or the film or whatever?
Well, my whole thing is like, when you hit me up and was like, yo, I'm doing something about Bushwick already, I was like, yo, that's dope, let's go. And it's funny because I knew you lived in Bushwick, I didn't know you lived that close to me in Bushwick. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that until I seen the joint. I'm over on Warefield, still am, and to see you over on the Wilson side, I'm like, you're on the dark side.
I live on Wilson.
Oh, what? You on the dark side too? Well, it used to be the dark side. And it's like, I was always, I would either go there or go to Halsey train station to catch the train. Yeah. So I'm surprised, like, we didn't see each other before that.
We went to the same junior high school, so.
23? Yeah. Philip Skyler.
There you go.
Yeah.
Alright. So who went to give what's the dream fire?
Yeah.
But oh man, it's funny because Stephanie said she was geeking out. I'm geeking out right now because this is so dope right here. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan of good art, and I've always we vibe, and I love the work that you do, and I'm geeking out myself. So excuse me.
The other artist in the film, Vanessa is an incredible voice, and she's an incredible storyteller. So I had I was familiar. Vanessa and I actually went to the same junior high school. We didn't know each other, but we went there at the same time. So when I became familiar with her work, I reached out to her to participate. And Danielle is a visual artist, so you'll see her work up around Bushwick. And she's an incredible artist, and I wanted to highlight those artists from Bushwick. So that's how it came together.
So you talk a lot, the film explores a lot about old Bushwick and new Bushwick. And it's funny because when you're walking around Bushwick these days, it's like a thing, like, how long have you lived in Bushwick? How long have you lived in Bushwick? And I'm like, I've lived here. I lived here for 12 years, but people that like lived here all their life, they're like, oh, you're new Bushwick. And I'm like, what? When do I get to be old Bushwick? What do you think about old Bushwick and new Bushwick, and how are they not getting along, and how are they getting along? And maybe you gave some advice at the end of the film, like what you should do when you move into the neighborhood, but how was your experience with New Bushwick?
So I do find that when you grow up in a neighborhood where there was a lot of crime, you kind of have to be prepared for people who are not familiar with it to kind of give them a primer, because sometimes people say things that are kind of offensive, and I don't ever lash out, but I do want to kind of show compassion and say, yeah, it was really tough growing up there, but and most of the people are really happy with the changes. But I don't even see old and new Bushwick, although I know that those lines exist, because there are people who've been living here and there their whole lives. They are in Bushwick, and Bushwick is Bushwick. But I do think that, and any of us can find ourselves needing to move, displaced or whatever, and in a new community where you want to be welcomed. So I think that experience has definitely informed me being sensitive to, if I'm in a new neighborhood, let me get to know it, let me be respectful. You know, the situation with Will, you know, with putting the art up on the family home, just having a sense of mindfulness about how you approach the neighborhood and your presence in it, and trying to be as inclusive as possible as you can.
How about you?
The whole thing with, you know, it's like how I said in the documentary, it's like, it's dope because like now, like, you know, the neighborhood is built up better, you know, but the bad thing about it with people, when new people come in, it's like how you said, they don't respect, a lot of the new people don't respect Bushwick history. You know, we have like a lot of historic stuff, and when I say historic, I mean like street historic stuff, like, you know, like people playing bongos in the park, you know what I'm saying? Like that's something that we grew up with. And now it's like the same cats go out and play bongos in the park, New Bushwick calls the cops and complain. You know, and I think that's messed up. And like even with music, you know, like I'm the DJ on my block right now, so I have the noisiest house. But everybody who lived, you know, on my block knows that. Like we had new cats, not the ones that live there now, but the people that lived next door to my house. We've had bouts with them because of that. You know what I'm saying? Because, like everyone knows, I do music. That's what I do for a living. And I'm respectable. I turn my music down about 10, 11 o'clock. But they want me to turn it down at 6 o'clock. Like, yo, I'm a house owner. You crazy? You know what I'm saying? But, you know, but this is things like that. You know, but another thing that I realized with Bushwick too is back in the days, the cops was bananas. Cops will mess with us. They still mess with us. Let's not get it twisted. But it's not as bad as before. You know what I'm saying? So you have your ups and downs. You know what I'm saying?
And to just add on to what you're saying, I do think that one of the goals of this film is to highlight that history, the bird flying that you see a lot in Bushwick, the people playing dominoes in the street. Like Vanessa was talking about, that shaved ice, like all of that is the culture, that's the essence of Bushwick, you know, the cars with the music riding in the street, that is part of the flavor. And hopefully that was something that I wanted to highlight, so that if you are moving to Bushwick, you get a little bit of a primer on what this is, you know. I don't expect everyone to know. You walk into a neighborhood, you're not going to get a history book of what was there before you, but hopefully this is an introduction and it helps with that process.